Hey listeners, Mallory Willsea here, Chief Producer of the Enrollify Network. I get the privilege of working alongside all of our creators at Enrollify, but I wanted to take just a quick moment to tell you about why I love the Talking Tactics podcast hosted by Diana Kibbolds. Every other Tuesday, Day drops a new episode where she focuses on a single tactic that moved the needle on any enrollment metric, from inquiries and booth visitors to apps completed and deposits, even registrations, you name it. The catch? The tactic had to be done with limited resources, either by a single person or a small but mighty team, or limited time, or maybe without a lot of money. The podcast format is fun and engaging, and it's just different from the more traditional 60-minute interview style shows. If you work in enrollment management or marketing, be sure to give Day's show a listen. You can subscribe to the show by visiting podcast.enrollify.org or just search Talking Tactics wherever you get your podcasts.
Hit it! That's what I'm talking about.
Wait! Okay, now, from the beginning.
Hit it, boys.
Hey everyone, Mallory here. I'm thrilled to introduce our next Pulse Check mini-series called Personalizing Prospective Student Journeys, a special 3-part series hosted by yours truly. Over the next 3 weeks, join me as I sit down with Dustin Ramsdell, Community Engagement Lead at Pathify and the host of the Higher Ed Geek podcast, which you can find right here on the Enrollify Network. The prospective student journey is complex and highly emotional. This series focuses on digital experience platforms and how this technology and the teams using it help students make informed choices from the start of their exploration, how to create community even before the student officially enrolls, and then, upon commitment, how institutions can best prepare a student for what is likely one of the biggest transitions and financial commitments of their life. All right, friends, without further ado, let's dive in. Welcome back, listeners. This is Mallory Willsea, and I am joined by Dustin Ramsdell for part 2 of this special 3-part series on the Pulse Check, Personalizing Prospective Student Journeys. Today, we are diving in to how an institution can start to create community before that student is fully enrolled. So let's make some assumptions. If you were with us for part 1, you heard us talk about how to help students make informed choices about where to apply. But we're at that critical point now in the student journey where they have applied. Maybe they're still exploring some additional options. They've probably heard whether or not they've been accepted to your institution, but they haven't made a decision yet about where to deposit. So let's drop in at this stage in the journey. Dustin, hey there. How's it going today?
That's good. Yeah, excited to talk about this because I feel like this is kind of this like murky middle for students as they're on that prospective student journey. So it's definitely very important to see where we can kind of make, this a compelling option for them to move forward.
It's critical. I mean, these are the handful of months where, depending on if it's a traditional student, maybe they've applied early decision or early action, even regular action. For non-traditional students or schools with rolling admissions, depending on your institution, this decision could be informed and delivered to the student within days or within months, right? And I suspect, don't want that student to think we've forgotten about them in this relationship building process. So it feels like the answer to my question feels a little obvious, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Why is it important to build community during this time?
Yeah, I mean, even just that like practical point of what you're saying, like try to make the use of the time that you have. Like the student could be waiting for a decision on their application that they put in, or they could be considering their accepted applications at, a myriad of institutions and trying to figure out what's going to be, that compelling option, that best choice for them. And, hopefully they're making very informed decisions, being very thoughtful and thorough with all the things that they're doing. But the importance here of community building is the idea that they're going to be making a choice, obviously like the program and the institution that they're going to, but like kind of what we got into the first part is like, what community are you joining? Like, who are the peers that are going to be studying with you, in your year, and the near peers ahead of you? Like, who are these people? What have they done to be successful? How do they, let loose and have fun? Like those sort of things. And so I think a lot of kind of what was outlined in part one. Please listen to that if you have not already, because I feel like, all kind of naturally kind of bleeding into each other here. The things that help a student make an informed choice about even putting in an application is going to help a student move even further. They're going to understand, from their peers and peer mentors and all the kind of resources and things that are provided on, the same digital experience platform that they're sort of introduced to and kind of got teased with before. They can hopefully even more deeply kind of get in, because now they've put in an application. We know that they want to be a residential business student, but they live actually, halfway across the country. So they're coming in here. They don't maybe really know anything about what this local community is like, what the people are like, what the campus is like. So we'll still want to serve up all those things to them. And I think that community building piece is a very active term. We should be really trying to start to get them at least observing and understanding, the social groups, the clubs, the leadership positions that they could pursue, start to get them a little bit more intimately aware of that, of how they can kind of not just be a member of the community, hopefully, but be maybe like an active contributing member of that community as well. So surfacing all those kind of options. And again, just really trying to make sure that they have turned over every rock and understood all the different aspects of what this institution has to offer.
What do you think are some of the key questions students have at this stage?
Certainly there's going to be, I think, a little bit more around certainly like pricing, cost, funding, because that's going to be sometimes a decision point, is like, where am I going to get the most bang for my buck and value and all that. So there's going to be some of that transactional piece, but certainly I think part of that equation, that conversation, is like, what are all the amenities? What are all the resources? What are all the supports? So like, some places might say we've got 24/7 mental health counseling virtually available to all students. And we've got the same thing for tutoring, that you can get it on ground, online, on demand. We've got, gyms that are open 24/7. We've got a food delivery service. We've got all these sort of different things. And this other place doesn't. Like that, those are not the most important things, but they are kind of important. Like that could be really swaying to somebody. So you want to, anticipate those questions, have avenues and outlets to answer those kinds of questions. And then certainly, again, even just mechanically of like, okay, you've applied to be a, business admin major. This is what that means. This is typically with the journey that people go on. This is kind of like, the details. We're getting a little bit more ingrained there, but like we have more, at this stage, more information about this student. So, the questions are going to vary depending on, are they local? Are they, from away? Are they a transfer? Are they, traditional aged or not? Like there's going to be a lot of different dynamics. And that's even the idea that what is really the magic of this stage is that we can bring in much more of that personalization, not any sort of presumptions and personalization. We know who this person is. We're going to provide to them things like the frequently asked questions that we know they're going to ask. We know those. We're going to put that information there. But then also there's might be just kind of fringe things. We're going to make sure that those outlets to get those questions answered are available. So those are all kind of things I think that should be anticipated by institutional leaders as they're building these digital experience platforms, to make sure that any concern is addressed and anticipated and easily easily addressed.
Yeah, when I was at an agency 4 or 5 plus years ago, we did a lot of experience mapping on this prospective student journey. And this was always that kind of interesting point in the journey where a student is transitioning from needing the reasons to select the institution to needing the reasons to feel confident about the decision that they're making. And those are like two very different things. for a marketing professional to be giving those reasons, right? And we talked a lot about this in the last episode, but emphasizing what makes your brand and institution distinctive, illustrating outcomes, reviewing for the student, reviewing costs and financial aid packages and different things. We're at the part of the journey where now they're being a little more intentional with the actions. They are specifically reviewing the financial aid package that you have put in front of them, not just generic information. They are engaging maybe with your social media communities and current students with more specific questions and really going down a list of pros and cons, of every option that they have in detail that they were not maybe even thinking about 4 to 6 months previously. So where is the role in technology here to help this individual make the right decision for them?
There's definitely a variety of approaches. Again, I mean, we were having the common thread of obviously the digital experience platform. So there can be, again, just a lot of user-friendly sort of navigation and sort of resources built into there with kind of dynamic content and everything. But even just, the different solutions that I've seen be really impactful are, your AI-empowered chatbots and everything. So there's the availability of that to pop up on websites, be available in a mobile app. You can text that, same entity, so, whatever device you're using, wherever you are, you get that kind of question that just pops in your head. You don't want to forget it. You can get that answered very quickly and seamlessly. And again, all that sort of being kind of tied together with, who you are as the person who's applied. We can know like, wow, these like first year students from away seem to have a lot of questions about, where am I going to eat or something, like, and you can just start to be like, okay, maybe we should build out a little bit more content on that. So, the digital experience and the digital tools and different things, part of it is just trying to provide convenience and greater availability than would be offered by, somebody have to call somebody on the phone or send emails to a human being, like it's just going to get bottlenecked and everything. You're going to probably answer the same question so many times. So, there's going to be a lot of higher quality consistent service on that front, but then you can start to try to follow trends from particular populations to understand like, okay, we seem to kind of have a little bit of a blind spot here. We can maybe anticipate that a little bit better with the way that we are presenting ourselves outwardly. And that could even apply, to kind of just, gaze into the future. It's like you can, hopefully build a whole sort of tech stack that you could follow this person all the way through and say like, okay, if you are more engaged at this early time, like you're going to be more successful down the line. Like you can make that like kind of apparent to people like, hey, the more you put into this, the more you try to like prepare yourself and understand and make an informed choice and all that. We just see these students be way more successful down the line. So like, please make use of us. Like we are here for you. Ask your questions. Like let's, have this conversation be a little bit more active. Don't just sort of lurk around and try to, think that like that's gonna like solve all your questions or answer all your questions and stuff. So I do think that nowadays what today's students expect, whether they are traditional aged or adult learners or whatever else, they're expecting a sophisticated, robust, user friendly, modern digital experience. And there's a lot that goes into that. There's kind of a lot of nuts and bolts on that. But those are the things that I think really sort of exhaust all options on the institution side to try to drive people forward at this stage.
Hey everyone, it's Mallory. I'm hosting the Engage Summit this summer in Raleigh, North Carolina. The theme of the conference is AI Got You. We're not just talking theories. This conference is your guide to understanding and applying AI at your institution. By the end, you won't just get AI, you'll be ready to lead your campus through an AI transformation. It's for everyone who wants to use AI to level up everything you're doing. Whether your focus is to recruit or retain, the summit offers a platform to learn, network, and bring back actionable insights to enhance your student engagement strategies. I hope you'll join me and some of your favorite Enrollify creators in Raleigh on June 25th and 26th, like Jamie Hunt, Dustin Ramsdell, and Allison Tercio. Use the discount code Enrollify50, and you can register for just $99. So join us at the Engage Summit this June. Learn more and register at engage.element451.com. We can't wait to see you there. There's a lot of anxiety at this point for the student, right? I often think about that, and it's the waiting, it's the uncertainty of the moment, but also what the future holds and the doubt of whether or not they're making the right choice. I mean, this is probably the biggest financial commitment for this individual, and the most complex decision that they have ever had to make. So as a higher ed professional, anything that we can do to make the transactional stuff as quick as possible, right? Optimizing wherever you can. And you brought up the AI-powered chatbot. I mean, that I think is going to be such a game changer for so many institutions who have historically relied on human-powered chat. That allows you to be where the student needs you at the time they need you, whether your office is open or not. And these AI chatbots, especially the ones that are built on OpenAI's platform, are both empathetic and competent. So they are trustworthy and they are able to integrate with other technologies and really serve the student, the right answers at the right time. So I think there's a lot of ways that technology really helps kind of ease that anxiety for students and take some of the workload off of staff in the process. Do you see any other strategies or ways to kind of accomplish this?
Yeah, and again, I'll kind of clarify too on sort of the community building front, because like that specific terminology I know like kind of has some connotations, is that like at this stage, my hope would be that institutions are literally making groups, like student groups that are hopefully embedded in that digital experience platform, at least like visible and available to these students at this sort of accepted stage, so that they could maybe be like, hey, I'm an accepted student, I'm curious about the esports club. And I'm sure obviously these people will be like, awesome, great, like, we love, more, the more the merrier. And they can, even much more like be like, come on in, the water is fine, we'll love to have you, we're so excited for you to come to campus, our first meeting is this, like, just that idea that like, if a student is at that place where they have really specific interests, things they're really excited to get involved in, they can kind of go and deep dive in there. Or a student could just kind of survey and be like, wow, there's so many amazing groups. Cool. Like, I don't know what I want to join yet, but like, it's great to know there's so many great options and these groups look really vibrant and, all those sort of things. But then, so I think that's one part of the strategy, is try to be as sort of as open as you are willing to be. There's not going to be only one, kind of way to do this, but I think you'll be well served by being as open as possible to make sure students kind of get a really firsthand look and ability to kind of get intimately aware of these opportunities. But then otherwise, they kind of just build on what you're saying about like the chatbot. For me, a part of the secret sauce, the secret formula here is like, you might have some amazing tools like this. You might have like amazing peer-to-peer platform, so these students can communicate, and a virtual tour content and this and that, the chatbot. But like, half the battle is delivery. So like, if all these things are sort of offshoot, it might be like, wow, like everybody's using the chatbot because that's like maybe just relatively more easy to use. You can text it. You just text the number and you can get started. But then like, hopefully you can kind of have this whole ecosystem kind of enclose all these amazing things that you've invested into, where it's like, you're able to have the little pop-up chatbot and it's on a mobile app and you can interact with it there. And then you can also kind of just like quickly migrate over to be like, well, actually, maybe I do want to actually talk to a human. Like, this AI has like a lot of amazing answers that they're answering well and, empathetically, but like, it's not obviously going to be able to say like, yep, I am a second year student in 2024 at this camp. Like, this is how I literally like ride my bike around campus and where I park it and the type of lock that I have and whatever, so if they could easily just sort of pivot over to have that peer-to-peer platform to post a question or, hopefully just get engaged with somebody, and then also then just kind of pivot and be like, oh, so that person mentioned like, oh, there's a really great and safe place to park your bike by McKinsey Hall. Where is McKinsey Hall? Because I think I'm actually going to live over here. You could get into like a, the virtual tour and mapping and be like, oh, okay, I see it. Yeah, that seems like a really convenient place because you can go, like, just that idea that like hopefully there's full utilization and full awareness in that digital experience platform. So like your strategy is always kind of guiding towards making sure that there's utilization, of all these things that are all sort of cohesively tied together to make sure that a student doesn't like hit a wall where like they're really engaging with a chatbot, but then hit that wall where it's like it just can't answer that. That's a little bit too much of a niche question, but that's a earnestly valid question that can and should be answered. But then like they don't even maybe know that this peer-to-peer thing exists. So I think that's a crucial part of the strategy is the delivery. How are you tying all these different pieces of your tech stack together when it comes to the accepted, prospective student experience?
I think you nailed it. At this stage in the journey, connecting a prospective student or an accepted student with the current student community is critical. There is no better social proof for what that student's experience could look like. Like we touched on in the first episode, part of that decision criteria, hopefully, for the student is, is this a place where, is this a place that attracts the type of student that I aspire to be? And will this place help me get to becoming who it is I want to be? And who better to showcase in that moment than the current students on that campus? I mean, that is your literal proof point right there. And I love how you have emphasized the need for the digital experience to be integrated along the way so that there aren't unnecessary robot blocks that the technology is putting into place, despite all the hard work of the humans using that technology.
Yeah, because what I really love is that idea that like, the relationships that could be developed, like a near peer mentor, the student who's deciding that they want to go to this place, like that person could end up being like a mentor for life, like that idea. It's like, yeah, we met when I was like deciding if I wanted to go to this institution. You really helped me to feel, well prepared and well informed. And just that idea, like that's such a valuable sort of social capital or just sort of relationship that we kind of understand, I think just holistically. And, you could even just part of your strategy, if there's like those faculty members who just like love, having those sort of relationships as well of mentoring. It's like maybe you'd kind of just, rotate in some faculty again, dependent on the school, the program, where it's like, yeah, I've been part of the School of Business for a long time. I talk with a lot of incoming students. I kind of understand their struggles and their concerns, and I'm just really happy to help. I love helping to welcome people into the world of, business and whatever it might be. So I think, these are the type of things where, especially really not really talked about it too much, is like all this stuff is just like good on principle to do as part of your strategy. It is especially good to do for your first generation students and other underrepresented populations that like they will, have sort of an exponential benefit from having the opportunity to build the social capital, build mentoring relationships, and, make sure that it's a place that they feel like they'll fit in. So if everything else was not compelling enough for you, hopefully that kind of pushes you over the edge, is that like, if you're an institution that really cares about this has got to be a part of your strategy, I think, to kind of move the needle in the right direction.
And we've primarily focused this conversation on the undergraduate experience, but it is just as applicable to graduate school choice, especially this part 2 episode on creating that community before they actually make the decision to deposit. For a graduate student, especially one who is going back while still working, oftentimes that decision criteria is heavily weighted towards the individual faculty members that they will get the opportunity to study with, and understanding that there are other students who are like them, who are equally juggling myriad of responsibilities. And in both of those cases, the sooner you can start to build community and relationships for that prospective or accepted student, so that they can really see themselves in your grad program and succeeding, I mean, it's critical. There's obviously less financial aid opportunities for grad students. It is another thing to do, maybe in a very long list of life and family responsibilities, work responsibilities, and it's a huge time commitment. It is just as critical that we apply everything that we have talked about today with undergrad students to that grad population as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very good point, because I know that a lot of institutions have just been much more investing into their graduate student populations, growing that, and wanting to hopefully invest more in that population, because I think it, unfortunately, in my experience, in my perspective, talking with folks, can be a bit of an afterthought. They presume that population does not want or need all these things, but if you've got the right digital experience platform, it should not be that much effort or anything to kind of build out a graduate student version. And, for the folks that need it, they can engage and get that support. So, yeah, it's applicable across the board. Another great point in the column. So I appreciate you making that point.
I'd be remiss if I didn't at least call out our very first Pulse Check mini series, which was on graduate school marketing. So there's 4 episodes on this very podcast feed that you can go back and listen to if you want to dive a little bit deeper into that convo. But Dustin, before we wrap up part 2 today, any final words on creating community before that deposit?
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, this is such a murky middle area that I think, all these areas need their sort of kind of due diligence and focus and everything. But I think this can sometimes be where people get stuck. You might have a lot of applications. And again, you might tout that, where we've had the most applications we've ever had as an institution. But that only matters in so much as if you're getting students to commit. And then if you're also, to tease our next episode, getting them prepared, getting them oriented and set up for success.
That's right. Perfect teaser. I hope folks will join us next Thursday for the final part of this 3-part series, where we will be talking about setting students up for success with an emphasis on that post-deposit time period, from that moment until they arrive on your campus for orientation. We're looking forward to it. I hope you are too, friends. We'll see you then. This Pulse Check mini-series has been brought to you by Pathify. Gone are the days of clunky interfaces, disjointed systems, and massive, unhelpful link farms. Centralize all your systems with Pathify so that students see the information that matters to them in a digital experience that actually makes sense. From prospective students through alumni, it's about time the student experience started looking and acting like a consumer app from this century. Visit pathify.com for more. Enrollify is made possible by Element 451, the next generation AI student engagement platform helping institutions create meaningful and personalized interactions with students. Learn more at element451.com.